Okay, welcome back everyone to another great episode of The Human Role. So this episode, we are going to dive into data and more so like data trends in the HR space. And as mentioned in our last episode, I do have a very, very special guest. We have with us today, Reimund Nienaber. Hopefully I pronounced that right. He will correct me if not, but he is the Director of Consulting and Customer Success at Edligo. So Edligo is a company that's heavy AI powered when it comes to talent in the HR space and definitely talent and analytics in the HR space. So I wanted to bring him on as we're talking about this HR data. We really want to get into deep diving on how our HR people can make sure we're staying up to speed and how this data can help your population. But before we get to that point, wanted to give Reimund the floor so that he can kind of give you guys his background for everyone who's not familiar with him, but then also give us some insight on Edligo and what they're doing across the world because they are a global company. So Reimund, welcome. Really excited to have you. Please take the floor. Let my network know any and all things about you and also your company because I know you guys are doing great things out there.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for having me. Wonderful to be part of your show. My name is, as you said, Reimund Nienaber. I'm Edligo's HR thought leader, consulting director, and director of customer success. I have a long background as well in HR for a large international company, more than 25 plus years. I had actually a technical career start, in Germany with, I can say it with Deutsche Post, doing wires in the ground, connecting people already those days. But I enjoyed moving into management and moving into HR, moving into people management, and then moving to HR. So throughout my career, I was lucky to build really great, high-performing HR and technical teams. With this many years of experience, I was as well able to innovate a lot, created new ideas, bringing in new technologies, and as well help nowadays other organizations to achieve top performance with their employees through technology that we're offering here in Edligo. So top business performance and great results in people motivation and acceleration with we call it AI-enabled talent and learning analytics. This is what we're doing at Edligo and that we're bringing to organization, to the corporate world with the Edligo platform. And Edligo exists already more than 10 years. We have a nice customer base, very international orientated as well. Our employees are basically around the globe. And it's great fun to have new discoveries with AI technologies about people and how to motivate them and how to actually move business forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that background because that, you guys, is going to get us into the nitty gritty of our topic. So we really want to dive into heavy trends when it comes to data, especially when we're in the HR decision-making seats, right? And so Reimund, really would love to get your insight on what you see. So not only just with your background, but of course with Edligo and what they're doing for you all's companies and clients, but wanted to kind of get insight on what are key data trends that you're seeing impacting HR and HR's decision-making.
I think in general, we can just say that a heavy trend throughout all industries is people analytics. So we really want to start actually taking data or using the data that the companies already have collected over many years, using this and provide some first insights or even deeper insights into employee engagement, productivity, business analytics, so because of course, while we're doing people analytics, we're actually still doing business analytics because people are there for the purpose of furthering the business, And in order to do that, we hear that a lot is coming in there through AI and machine learning. These are certain wow topics that are currently all around our ears. We hear about ChatGPT and whatever other kind of AI application is there now to augment our life or potentially to threaten our job. We don't know, maybe in years to go, such a recording that we are doing here will be just automatically done, and we just send a picture of us, and then we'll just do the chat among each other. We're just sending some keywords out only. But AI and machine learning is something that's going to be very important because we as a human, we all have to learn about how to work with these technologies, actually how to handle it and how to understand it, as well how to understand its limitations. There are lots of things happening as well in HR or thoughts happening there, but what can you really automate, for instance, with HR? We all know that there have been stories about bots and for simple answering, question answering. And now these things become even more and more complex now. The question is how far can you trust the AI to make right and unbiased decisions? So these are really big trends, I think, happening right now. And of course, not to forget the employees, the core of the business, they want to get a better experience as well. They want to get experience enrichment through AI, through HCM platforms. And as well, that is possible by giving them views about their career, their knowledge, their improvement areas, how they can further their career. So these are really great opportunities in there. The other thing is that you don't have to wait until someone is doing a kind of serious analysis. So you can really ask an AI system or a new or a modern human resource management system for real-time feedback as well. That's really a really great thing that you have continuous performance reviews, continuously pulse surveys. You always are able, as well as an HR of an organization, to pick the mood in the organization, to understand the sentiments on what's going in there. And that helps then in return by another big topic, which is DEI and B. We all know this is really big and discussed in many organizations. Should it be small or large? It doesn't matter. Actually, it matters everywhere. And here as well, these tracking and analytics of DI and B KPIs and getting better understanding helps as well throughout the entire HR decision making. Then not to forget, of course, where Edligo is really very big, and this is the skills and competency mapping, to really understand where are our people at actually right now, at not using what is the famous stomach decision, but really understanding what do the people know today, having plans as well and great vision of where we want to see the employees and their knowledge actually in future, and understanding what are the gaps and getting actually, I call it a zero waste learning established in organizations, and avoiding pouring these kind of big development activities across the entire organization. And then 20% already know it. They're happy taking the training so they can take a rest. Maybe 20% at the bottom, they have no clue because it's too high level for them. And only maybe then 40 to 50% actually really benefiting from something. So zero waste learning is something that is very important part of skills and competency mapping as a technology that comes, for instance, in through Edligo. Last but not least, I would say that mental health metrics are as well very, very important in organization. We still always hear about, or we hear something even more about burnouts of people, where we need to understand how are we actually distributing workload, how is work actually affecting the well-being of people. And so these are all very important items that I think this could be like some major key data trends in HR.
The pace of change in the world of business is fast, and that drives incredible complexity for the world of human resources.
Welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast, a series of conversations with experts inside and outside the world of HR on how to innovate, measure, and evolve our practices.
Our goal is to help provide you with practical examples of how HR has to change to meet the complexity of the business environment.
Every week, we'll talk to new and different voices on all aspects of HR.
And at times, we'll get irreverent.
Silly even.
And sometimes geek out on the data and technology that underlie the processes that drive the world of HR.
But the conversations are always insightful and fun. So please, enjoy the HR Data Labs podcast.
Absolutely. I would say you hit it on the head with kind of just how my flow of podcast episodes have been this year, right? Where, okay, AI, there's so many people think AI is going to take my job. Some people are really scared of it. And so you hit it really nail on the head. Like, we don't really know fully. We have an idea that it's probably going to take some roles, right? We don't really know what that looks like. I've been encouraging people just to be open to it. It's here. Right? We can't do anything about it. Like, it's here. We need to just welcome it and try to use it to the best of our abilities. But I think the main key factor is making sure, like with, DI&B, that everyone is feeling included and belonging, and then really that you're diving into your employees and understanding what your employees want. So exactly what Reimund touched on, you all, like, even if you're in the HR seat, not from a really high level where you're just making a decision and you're not getting the data from the employees, right? We really want to make sure we're trying to get the surveys in, talk to employees, gather what they really see fit for themselves. And then when you talk about mental health too, that's a very sensitive topic where years ago, people weren't really comfortable talking about it, and now they are. And so coordinating just the mental health day, right? Just in your, benefits plans for people to take time off, I think goes a long way for a lot of people. So love those points. Those are really great points. And so you guys, listen, we got another expert on here. Okay. You got to take his advice and insight here to help, BHR have that human aspect for your team and really push things forward, because it is really an employee market right now versus an employer market. So really good points there. And so that leads me to my next question. So for anyone who has listened to your key trends and really wants to get this implemented, but say they're a smaller company, they don't have heavy budgets, what type of suggestions, or how do you think of smaller companies that are trying to leverage data but don't really have heavy, extensive resources and budgets to do that with? What would be your advice to them?
Truly, the starting point, Jana, is something that where many organizations actually have trouble. They just think, oh, this all looks so great with all these graphs and all these outputs that we get from these analytics, but we're just so small and we don't have the time, we don't have the budget. Well, I think we have to understand that companies always can actually start simple, so and expand over time when they see that it's actually really helpful for them, that they see that they understand the benefit. And so I just say, start simple, start easy, start with this, with a focus on the core metrics, on the core data you actually do have available. Analytics start simple. Look, for instance, at your turnover rate, looking at employee satisfaction, looking at work outputs versus financial data. So in this data, usually all companies do have actually available right now. And then there are, for simplest way of analytics, there are free or low cost tools. So there are Google Analytics. I can think of Excel. There are some basic HR software as well, which people or organizations can buy in a self-service mode, when you'll have it like software as a service, where you don't have like big consultancy packages that you need to buy or spend money for. So HR can just go to the system, for instance, on a Edligo website. You can just go there, try it out, and then you can upload your own headcount and you can decide how you want to continue with this, So we provided actually a very easy as well, very simple start to as well reduce this kind of fear factor, may I say, so because all these new technologies, they're stressing us a little bit, I think. Additionally, I find that other input can come from general employee surveys, external benchmarking, external benchmarks, and there we can actually as well use already the AI engines available in the free market, to see how is a software developer doing maybe in the US, if I want to compare as a European, or someone as a US company, and want to see what is the average knowledge maybe of such a person or such a competent employee profile. Then this is how you can start basically leveraging your existing data that you do have available to start very simple way. And if you get the appetite as an HR organization and understanding actually what you can really get out of this and understanding the benefits for your organization, then you maybe can start actually maybe looking into real platforms that can help you to do this actually for your entire business.
Love that. Start simple. How simple is that, right? When you were saying that, I'm like, that is so true. We could just start simple, maybe make our own survey, send something out, take advantage of ChatGPT or AI, so that's like such a cool way to get that going. And then I love the word you used, to build the appetite, because a lot of times when we're going to our C-suite executives to try to get approval for this new fancy system, there is really no data to show that it's going to be even useful, right? So if you do start simple, out there and can really gauge your population some, then you would have a better rebuttal, right, when you're presenting that and trying to get those budgets approved. So great call out there. That was really simple. Start simple, you guys. So I know it doesn't seem that easy, but, sometimes we do make things a lot harder and more difficult, than they really need to be. So perfect. And then let's get into kind of like retention and engagement, because I know that is really hard right now when we talk about the quiet quitting and, employees really wanting a lot of additional benefits when it comes to picking an employer now. So what roles would you say that data can really play in helping to improve employee retention and employee engagement?
I think data plays a pivotal role here. And at Edligo, as our name says, we're connecting the dots in education, So as I shared with you earlier, little anecdote about Edligo name. When you are collecting data, then it requires kind of system intelligence nowadays actually to be able really to connect the dots between all these different data points that you're having. And when you use pulse surveys, you use sentiment analysis, turnover data, you have to be really actually able to put this all together and understanding this. What does it actually mean? What do these data points mean in this team? How is this manager doing? How are these employees doing? Are they affected by a manager? And can we actually see that there is maybe some kind of group of people that might be affected by poorly managed, potentially, because we have to understand most of the people still leave because of their manager. That's usually a general fact. As well, always when I talk to people who tell me that they're leaving the company, I say, why is it? Yeah, the manager didn't really please me anymore, or we had all kind of arguments, and then people move out. And this helps you to understand these kind of pockets of dissatisfaction. And if you have a larger or medium-sized organization, it's really very, very difficult to do this with an Excel sheet. And then if you have these kind of heat maps automatically coming out of a system to analyze it, and of course having smart questions that still protect the privacy of the individuals, but as well helping to, I find these little nuances of how the heat or the temperature is in those different teams, that can really help you a lot. And why does it help on retention? Because you can actually do a preemptive strike in means of taking corrective actions. I think because that's very important. You don't have to hit the dirt doesn't have to hit the fan. You can actually make sure, do I see things evolving in some teams? Are things changing? And when you do this kind of pulse surveys, you can see this over time. Using this as well together with competence data, because we know that people nowadays, they always want to learn more. They want to build a career. If they see that certain things are not moving for them, that they're stuck, and you get certain additional data points, you can easily make an AI system understand that there is something in the odd, at least that should be checked. So we use the Edligo system here as well as an early warning light in terms of attrition, in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of business results, or to see as well where has it already hit the wall. Is it going to be very red, or are we just transitioning from green to yellow into red areas, or are we actually transitioning to the better way? And this is what people can easily see actually when doing simple AI-supported analytics.
Yeah, that's perfect, because you're right. Sometimes if you don't have a system like Edligo, please reach out to Reimund or his team, because as he's explaining that, I'm just thinking of, my 15 plus year career and how sometimes you don't really even know, people don't really vocalize it. You get caught up in your day to day, you may wear many different hats and you may forget to check in on someone, right? Or forget to notice that someone is actually there. Sometimes it's unknowingly, sometimes it's knowingly, unfortunately. Like, as we know, some of these managers may not know how to actually manage. And so just knowing that Edligo definitely does have a system where you can actually see that trend and maybe you can try to get ahead of it, right? Be proactive instead of reactive. It's really good. That's what all of us need, right? You need to have that data in your face, because if it's not in your face, you could just kind of take it for advantage, I guess you can say. And so definitely can understand that. So love that piece.
Let me add a little bit more here, because I think for using a system like Edligo, there's a little bit more in there for employees. If I look at the WIIFM value, so this what's in it for me. And when employees, they do a competency, role-based competency assessment in that legal tool, and then they usually, by pressing a button, instantly they get training return that comes from any kind of LMS that you may have in your company or in the external world, because Edligo doesn't sell training. We're not involved in the training. We just use that what's somewhere in the landscape or what organizations have. So employees, they can see as well right away their career path. So you can create a vision for them. You can benchmark employees as well. Their own knowledge, they can benchmark towards the outside world so that they get right away feedback, input. Well, somewhere else, people already learned this. So I better catch up, because where do I want to see myself, my personal market value, towards inside an organization or outside the organization? Am I somewhere on, and I might call it simply on top of the food chain, or am I already somewhere below, so I can actually see where I am, and then I can see, and then I can engage myself, because I would like to understand where am I, how do I want to position myself? And that's very engaging, as well as it's very engaging for people that have lots of drive and really still want to get somewhere. And that's a super cool, engaging point.
Look, our issues are resolved. Everyone get Edligo. So you just made it sound so seamless, right? We just, but it's great to know that there's systems out there, because I can guarantee you, prior to connecting with you and your team, it's like, okay, I wish I would have known about this 10 years ago, right? When you guys were coming about. So it's really good that there's already solutions in play, already AI driven. So we don't have to worry about, okay, is there going to be a big update when when your company takes over AI? It's already built off of that. We know we're going to be getting real-time data, and definitely using stuff in this current century and not be outdated, right? I think that's really important, because if you're not already using AI in some way, shape, or form, I've said it before in past episodes, you're already a little bit behind. So we need to kind of get up to speed with that as well. So all good stuff. Love that about the system. So now we've talked about employees, your current employee population, and Edligo has that down for you. You're good. Keep it simple. Bring in their system down the line. But now let's get into recruitment too. How do you think data can help companies proactively bring in, talent management, and even maybe future workforce planning?
I love, again, the idea of when you have openings that you actually be able to have a proper succession management inside the organization. I think that's very important, because I felt in the past in some other companies, people always tell me they feel overstepped when they know that someone actually has left, and then someone has been filling in that company, then suddenly someone from external appears, and that job was actually not even advertised internally in the organization. People feel so wrecked and disappointed when this happens in companies. And then you're even supposed to teach that person the job, and they're telling you that you were nice to fill in, but you're not qualified to take the role, So that's happening often, and it's very disappointing and discouraging for people. So in a proactive talent management here, I think helps you, or helps the HR to see actually in their succession or promotional planning, to understand, where do I have gaps? Where do I have oversupply, maybe in people or in skills, in competencies in the organization? Where do I have an undersupply? And if I have undersupply in certain roles, but I have certain requirements, then a tool must indicate to me, I have to invest maybe in certain developments, or I have to invest in certain roles in order to up and to close these gaps that I have. And such a tool like Edligo can easily show this, and lots of simply easy to understand reports, and to make sure as well that you have a great understanding of the attrition that might come. We spoke earlier about this attrition risk maybe, and we do as well have attrition reporting in their assessment, not only reporting, but as well prediction. What's going to happen, and what skills or competences am I going to lose over a period of time if I don't change things, or if I don't refill? And then I have to check, of course, how do I refill this? I get maybe lots of recruitment requisitions out. And with all the recs, I get what? I get lots of CVs. How do I now analyze all these CVs? I just put all these CVs into the Edligo system and add as well this job description, compare this, and then the system will just tell me, okay, this one is the best one, and gives you as well a proper reasoning why this one or that one should be your primary candidate. In that way, you can actually easily fill projects or roles In the same way, for instance, you can upload a project description into the Edligo system and say, I need this many project managers, developers, I need DevOps and what other technical roles there might be. And then it will find you the best people in your organization or of that area in your organization where you want to search the people, and you fill your project. Because another big problem is usually from the email times of finding people, if you make a search in a large organization for a specialist and you really need the best guy there, you may not necessarily get the best person. You may get the one that's just left over from somewhere.
Very true. Very true. All good things to pull and to consider, right, when you're hiring, because hiring can be very costly. So as we remember when we just, gave some insight on smaller companies that don't have many resources, right? You really want to be cognizant of who you're hiring and making sure you're making that right hiring decision, because that turnover could cost you even more. So great to know that you all have that type of, reporting already built in and can help companies with that as well. I know a mix of HR people, some that are heavy into the system, some that are used to just not really being in the systems and dealing with employee relations and being on site or being on the floor if you're, over a big warehouse population. So when you're talking about a lot of this, there are some HR people that I know that kind of try to stay away from the systems, right? So, when I think about trying to talk to my network on getting them into your system, because it is, so helpful, I don't want them to be turned away, like, oh, not another system. So what would you say are heavy skills that, HR professionals should really develop when you're talking about getting more involved in a data-driven culture? I'm sure you've dealt with that, in your career, especially now in your specific role. So help me with the naysayers out there.
Really a very important topic, because as I said, when I speak to HR or I see some just put their hands on their head and say, oh my God, how can I handle all this data stuff? This is just too weird to me. I really have no clue where to get this data from or how to get a start on this. So for myself, I can say I've started in this large corporation that I've been working with as an HR and dug into data almost started about 20 years ago. And I saw things and, taking a big SAP data, taking this out, and you start manipulating things on an Excel sheet. Many people already nowadays, they know how to use Excel or some kind of spreadsheet tool to familiarize themselves. I think to understand the basic data points, I think is something to start with for anyone, and having some kind of data literacy developed. I think that is important because people need to think about, okay, now I have this data, and what is this data supposed to tell me? Is there anything? What do I want to see? So sometimes when you're working with analytics teams, and they're inviting managers, for instance, to come in, they have certain ideas of what they want to see, but they're not really sure yet very often on how a report finally should look like, actually, or what, or an interpretation of data, how it should look like. Actually, report creation is very much actually a journey. It's not that automatically the output that is all clear to everyone. We always have to understand what problem we have, what solution can be found for this, or what data I have in order to help me to see that what kind of solution I want to look at later on, So, and of course, important as well is a little bit of business acumen as well as an HR. I think we need to understand that what the work we're doing, the reports we're taking, all this, or what we're producing, the data we're interpreting, it needs to help the business and the people in the organization to provide better results. And with that in mind, I think it's not going to be very difficult for most of HR folks, And I've seen huge people developing that have really completely left-handed with data before and have become really great specialists. I had experience with some of colleagues when I told them what to do. They literally started crying when I explained them what I expected from them in a real role. And they have been developing to stars and were shining after a while. That has been really a great journey for many of them. So if someone tells me, oh, no, I can't do that, I tell them, I don't believe it. Get your hands dirty, start with it, and you will learn and you will have quick successes. Yeah.
great management skills there, right? So not only heavy on the, consulting space and Edligo system space, but Reimund is a great manager, right? Because you need someone to encourage you and believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself, right? And so that is good to hear, because once you actually start getting into it, you're right. It's not that bad, right? It's just the thought of having to do that and having to take on something new. So kudos to you. And as we talk about great management, pushing people, let's get into the future, right? So we talk about the future HR and data-driven decision-making as a whole. Where do you see this piece going over the next, 5 to 10 years, especially as we've talked about how AI is heavily, taking over?
There are lots of visions, especially in the AI area. So just recently here, this week, actually, I'm in Asia, and I've spoken to a customer, and this customer was sharing with me the vision. They said, we want an AI system, actually, that will analyze all our headcount, our organizations, and tell us where do we have duplications. And by injecting as well financial and organizational data and business results, we want to even get as well projections of which part of the employee population we should keep insourced, outsourced, expand, or make a robot out of that function, operationalize this in this way. So I said, wow, that's really cool what you're trying to do. And I don't know yet of a system that can all do that, but I think parts of it, it's already there. So what I want to say is we're going to go much more into the recommendation or decision-making support. What AI is going to produce. I don't see AI being really used in decision-making, but more in supporting decision-making. And it's going to become much better. As well, it's going to become much better in providing reasoning for that. Because we as a human, sometimes when we look at this ChatGPT output, we just wonder, how the heck did it get to this answer? And that's why I've now made it a rule, actually, to always, when I question ChatGPT something, I always say, and please explain why you think that way. And that helps you to understand as well the thought process, although the system doesn't really think, but the association process, that this AI system is doing in order to help you to learn as well, better as well, to be able to reason in front of others, or to think is really valid, or did it just tell you something that's not right, and you have to ask it again and again in a different way, because we all know ChatGPT can become very chatty. And I think that's something where I really see us moving. We're going to have more automation, and we're going to have more prompts, and we all are going to need to be better understanding how the AI is working and able to actually enrich our work, take off workload from us, and help us to think quicker. So there was some work I had to do. I was using then AI and creation of certain things and creation of certain templates, which you can just do by pressing buttons. In the same way, you can do report analytics or HR data analytics really as well by pressing buttons. You just upload all the data in the system, and you get really great insights. And this is going to become more further developed, much more enriched, and we will have more instant value for the business and the people out of it.
Absolutely. I have heard from multiple sources too that the AI we're using right now is probably going to be the worst that we have seen, right? As far as, once we grow in the future and once it gets enhanced. So you were essentially saying that it'll, get better. And I do like that you called out that you can actually tell AI what to do. Like you can say, hey, look, dumb this down for me, explain this more for me. What do you mean? Right. And so I always encourage people just to get in there and just try it out. Just try it. Just type in some questions. You will be fascinated at how quickly it will come back with responses and really help you all out there. So love that. And thank you so much, Reimund. I know I've taken lots of your time, and this has been very, very helpful. So to all of my network out there, please reach out to Reimund. Please look at Edligo's site. As you kind of just heard him talk through things, the reporting there is really helpful definitely can help with your current employee population, but also with your talent management as you're bringing on people. That's really, really critical to kind of help judge, pulse. And so I would love for everyone to get in contact with Reimund and his team, right? So that you guys can help try to bring this into your company. And as he mentioned, even if it's just starting simple, just maybe start the foundation of certain surveys internally to really build up why a system like this is needed, because it will definitely be really helpful.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity, Gianna. It was great. Great to be here. Thank you for all the questions. And of course, if anyone would like to connect with me, please check me out in LinkedIn or connect with me through Gianna.
Absolutely. So Reimund is all the way in Asia. We'll have to have him back. Maybe, hopefully, he'll be in the US. Maybe we can do a real in-person time coming up. But thank you so much, Reimund, for listening in. To everyone out there, stay tuned in another couple of weeks for another great episode. But looking forward to having you guys continue to listen. And Reimund, looking forward to seeing what the future holds for yourself and also for Edligo. So thank you so much, everyone. We will see you in a couple of weeks.